Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring a really fascinating idea. What if ancient wisdom, stuff passed down for thousands of years, and some pretty intriguing modern insights are, well, actually saying the same thing, just using different words.
Right, like different languages describing a similar reality.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack shatnez, that's the biblical prohibition, against mixing wool and linen in clothing.
A rule that goes way, way back.
Thousands of years. And what makes it so compelling, I think, is how it still resonates. It even finds these, well, unexpected parallels in some contemporary thinking.
Yeah, it really does bridge different worlds.
So we've pulled from a mix of sources, traditional religious texts, some deep Kabbalistic interpretations, and even some pretty surprising modern claims, actually.
It's quite a blend of perspectives.
It is. So get ready to discover not just, what the rule is, but the layers of meaning and purpose behind it. We think you'll find it adds, well, a new depth to your understanding.
And hopefully sparks some curiosity, too. It's really remarkable how something so specific, like this fabric rule, can open up so many different ways of thinking about things. So maybe we should start by just nailing down the basics. What exactly is shatnez?
Good idea.
At its core, it's a very clear prohibition. You cannot mix sheep's wool and linen, which comes from flax, within a single piece of clothing. Woven together, sewn together, forbidden.
And it's super specific, isn't it? It's only wool and linen.
Exactly. Other fibers, cotton, silk, hemp, whatever, they're totally fine. No issue there.
Okay. And the strictness is key here, too.
Absolutely. The law is incredibly strict. It doesn't matter how much is mixed. Even one single thread of linen in a wool suit or the other way around.
Just one thread?
Just one. It makes the whole garment forbidden or asur.
Wow. That must have some big practical implications for people who observe this.
Huge. Garments, especially things like suits, coats, things with complex construction, they often need to be checked really carefully.
Checked, like professionally.
Yeah, often by specialized labs or checkers. They look for hidden linen threads, maybe in the interfacing, the collars, under buttons, even the thread used for sewing seams sometimes. It can be anywhere.
That's a level of detail you don't often think about with clothes.
Yeah.
So what about layering? Like, if I wear a linen shirt and then put a wool sweater over it, two separate items.
That's a great question. Technically, wearing two separate garments, one wool, one linen, is generally permitted, but...
There's always a but.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Many halakhic authorities, the rabbinic legal scholars, they suggest avoiding it if you can't easily take one off without the other.
Ah, okay. Like if the sweater kind of traps the shirt.
Exactly. If taking off the linen shirt means you have to take off the wool sweater first, some see them as functionally joined when worn. Now, common custom today is often maybe a bit more lenient on simple layering.
Right.
But the traditional thinking definitely leans towards caution there. It's about not creating that forbidden connection, even temporarily.
Okay, that makes sense. So why? Why this specific rule? Is there like an obvious reason given back then?
Oh, this is where it gets interesting. Traditionally, shatnez is understood as a chok.
A choke?
Yeah, C-H-O-K. It's a category of divine law where the reason isn't immediately obvious or easily grasped by human logic. It's just decreed. A bit like some of the kashrut laws, the dietary rules.
So given by God, accepted, don't necessarily need a why.
That's the starting point. But of course, that hasn't stopped sages and scholars over centuries from exploring its meaning, offering really profound insights. They give us these frameworks, both historical and mystical, to connect with it.
Right, digging for the deeper layers.
Yeah.
Like Maimonides, the great medieval scholar. He had a historical take, didn't he?
He did. Maimonides suggested it might have been about distinction, setting the ancient Israelites apart. He proposed that maybe pagan priests in that era did wear wool linen mixtures as part of their rituals.
Ah, so the prohibition was a way to avoid imitating or being associated with those idolatrous or spiritually impure customs, as he put it.
Exactly. Establishing a unique identity, avoiding spiritual contamination through association. It's about separation and holiness.
Okay, that's one layer. But then there's that really fascinating exception you mentioned earlier, the temple priests, the Kohanim.
Right. This is a key point. They're sacred garments worn only inside the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. They actually did contain shatnez. This very blend of wool and linen was prescribed for some of their vestments.
So forbidden for everyone else, but required for the priests in the temple. How does that work?
The understanding is that the intense holiness of the temple, the place where the divine presence, the Shekinah, was believed to dwell most strongly, it was powerful enough to sort of neutralize or even transform the potentially negative spiritual effects of the mixture.
Wow. So context is everything. The same thing can be negative in one setting and positive, or at least permitted in another, much holier one.
Precisely. It shows how spiritual energy and context can fundamentally alter the nature and effect of something. It's not just about the physical substance.
Which leads us nicely into the mystical side, right? The Kabbalistic interpretations go much deeper than just historical separation.
Oh, absolutely. Kabbalah looks at the inner spiritual dynamics. Sources like the Tikkunei Zohar and commentators like Rabbanu Bacha, they talk about wool and linen representing completely opposing spiritual energies.
Opposing energies, like positive and negative. Or something else.
More like fundamentally different types of spiritual forces or flows.
Yeah.
Think of them as embodying distinct cosmic principles. Wool is often associated with chaste, loving kindness, expansion, and linen with gevura, judgment, restriction, severity.
Okay, chaste and gevura, kindness and severity. Those are core Kabbalistic concepts.
They are. So mixing them inappropriately outside the controlled, holy environment of the temple is seen as causing, well, chaos or disruption in the divine flow. It's like trying to force together incompatible energies.
A fusion of purity with impurity, or cosmic opposites, as some texts say.
Exactly. The idea is that this unnatural fusion clouds spiritual clarity and harmony. It creates a kind of static or imbalance in the spiritual energies around a person, and maybe even within them.
And the Zohar, a foundational Kabbalistic text, even plays with the word shatnez itself.
It does. There's a famous interpretation where it breaks down shatnez phonetically into Satan-ez.
Satan-ez, meaning
The Satan is strong or Satan prevails. The implication is pretty stark. Wearing this mixture somehow strengthens negative spiritual forces or maybe empowers the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination within a person.
that's intense. There's even a teaching link to that, isn't there? About an evil spirit clinging to someone who wears shatnez.
Yes, that idea exists within those mystical traditions. It paints a picture of Shaatnez attracting negative spiritual influences.
And connecting it back to the Bible, there's that link to Cain and Abel.
Right, another really potent mystical interpretation. Cain, the farmer, is associated with plants, specifically flax, which gives us linen. Abel, the shepherd, is associated with sheep, which gives us wool.
And Cain's offering wasn't accepted. Abel's was. Cain represents, well, lower quality.
Like often interpreted that way, yes. Cain linked to the earth, materiality, judgment perhaps, while Abel is linked to a higher, purer spiritual state, maybe closer to kindness. So mixing linen, Cain, and wool, Abel in a garment becomes symbolic of mixing.
Good and evil. Purity and corruption.
Something like that. An undesirable spiritual combination, reflecting that primordial conflict and imbalance. It's seen as spiritually detrimental.
Okay, so we have these ancient explanations, historical distinction, priestly exceptions, and these really deep mystical ideas about opposing energies, spiritual chaos, even strengthening negativity. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. Layers upon layers of meaning developed over millennia.
But then the story takes this unexpected turn, right? We jump forward to modern times, and suddenly there's talk about vibrational frequencies.
Exactly. This is where things get, let's say, unconventional, but also quite intriguing for many people. The idea emerges that maybe modern science, or at least some interpretations of it, are echoing these ancient intuitions.
And this often centers around a study attributed to a Dr. Heidi Yellen.
Yes, that's the name usually associated with these claims. Now, it's important to stress this is not mainstream peer-reviewed science in the way we usually think of it.
Right, important caveat. But what is the claim?
The claim is that both wool and linen, when measured for their vibrational frequency, using methods from fields sometimes associated with alternative health, possess exceptionally high frequencies. The number often quoted is 5,000 units, whatever those units represent.
5,000. And how does that compare to, say, the human body?
Well, the same sources claim the average healthy human body vibrates somewhere around 70 to 100. So 5,000 is seen as significantly higher and therefore potentially beneficial.
Advantageous to the wearer is the phrase sometimes used, like it promotes health or vitality somehow.
That's the suggestion, that wearing these natural high-frequency fabrics can positively influence our own energy field.
Okay, but here's the Shaatnez connection, the real kicker.
Yeah.
What happens when you mix them?
According to this theory, when wool and linen are combined, either woven together in one fabric or even just layered directly on top of each other, their energies effectively cancel each other out
Cancel out too. What?
to zero. The claim is the resulting mixture has a net frequency of zero.
Zero. How? Is there a mechanism proposed?
Yes, a rather specific energetic mechanism is described. It's said that wool's energy flows, let's say, left to right, and linen's energy flows right to left. When they're together, they create this kind of energetic stalemate. They essentially negate each other's flow.
Huh. And this was supposedly measured, and you mentioned a machine earlier.
Right. The research attributed to Dr. Yellen reportedly used a device called the Ag-Environ machine. It's worth noting, again, this isn't standard lab equipment in, say, physics or biology. It's more associated with fields like applied kinesiology and radionics, which are considered pseudoscientific by the mainstream.
Okay, duly noted. So, assuming this cancellation effect for a moment, what are
Right.
the supposed consequences for the person wearing the mixture?
The consequence, according to this viewpoint, is the loss of that potential health-promoting resonance. Instead of getting the benefit from the high frequency of wool or linen,
You get nothing.
you get nothing. Or some might even suggest it could disrupt the body's own natural energetic balance because it's encountering this null field where there should perhaps be coherence.
So the recommendation based on this theory would be,
Wear wool and linen separately. Enjoy the supposed high frequency of wool on its own, or linen on its own, but don't combine them so you can benefit from their full vibrational potential, as the thinking goes.
so yeah, like you said, we have to acknowledge these scientific claims are definitely unconventional. They aren't backed by a mainstream scientific consensus.
Absolutely critical to state that clearly.
But you can't help but notice the parallel, right?
Yeah.
This idea of two specific things canceling each other out, creating a null or even negative effect when combined. It sounds weirdly similar to the ancient Kabbalistic idea of opposing energies causing chaos or imbalance.
It's a striking parallel. It's almost like two entirely different languages, ancient spiritual intuition and modern unconventional energy theories, trying to describe a similar perceived phenomenon. That this particular combination is somehow energetically or spiritually problematic.
Right. It makes you see Shaatnez not just as this mysterious religious rule, but maybe as, well, a potential reflection of some deeper energetic truth about compatibility, about balance.
Exactly. It raises the possibility that maybe modern research, even if it's from the fringes, is giving us a new vocabulary, a new way to conceptualize something the Torah or the Kabbalists grasped intuitively on a different plane of understanding.
So wrapping this all together, what's the big picture takeaway here? It really seems to suggest that maybe nothing God commands is truly arbitrary, even if we don't get the reason right away.
That feels like a central theme, doesn't it? That there's profound purpose, even if we're only uncovering its wisdom gradually, piece by piece, maybe using different tools and perspectives in our time.
Yeah. This mitzvah, this commandment about wool and linen, it seems to connect deeply to ideas of spiritual balance, maybe even energetic well-being.
Whether you look at it through the intricate lens of Kabbalah with Chizd and Gevurah,
Or through these, more contemporary ideas about vibrational frequencies.
the underlying message seems to be about maintaining a certain kind of harmony, avoiding discordant mixtures.
What an incredible journey we've taken. Seriously.
Yeah.
From what seems like just a cryptic line in the Bible.
Don't X wool and linen.
Right. To this whole rich tapestry of historical context, deep mystical interpretations about cosmic energies, and now even these, well, compelling, if unconventional, modern scientific echoes.
Shaatnez really does stand out as this powerful example, doesn't it? How ancient commandments, even the ones that seem most mysterious, might be deeply connected to maintaining harmony within ourselves, and maybe even with the universe around us.
It absolutely does. It reminds us there's potentially so much hidden wisdom there.
Which kind of leaves us with a thought maybe for you, our listener, to ponder. Well, thinking about Shaatnez, what other ancient prohibitions, or maybe seemingly arbitrary rules, maybe in Judaism or any tradition really, what rules might hold similar deeper wisdom, perhaps energetic, perhaps spiritual, wisdom that maybe we're only now, with modern language or modern concepts, beginning to articulate or even glimpse?
That's a great question. It really encourages us to approach all these forms of ancient wisdom, these commandments, with a really open mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, with curiosity.
Recognizing that every rule, every tradition, whether it seems spiritual or just, societal, might have layers of meaning, some visible, some hidden, just waiting for us to uncover them.
Through thoughtful study, reflection, and just keeping that open mind.